Our middle schoolers are going to perform a short play about the Acts of the Disciples. Just a note for the play, there are discipleship being shown throughout the eras. You will see some examples of discipleship back when Jesus was happening, such as healings and miracles. Other acts of discipleship will be how kids and we act as Jesus' disciples now. The closing scene, you'll see a whole myriad of different acts of disciples as they share different acts of peace, kindness, love. So keep your eyes out, keep your eyes peeled, and your ears open because they have a lot to tell you about what they've learned about the disciples.
Jesus was raised in Nazareth of Galilee when he was around 30 years old. He walked through the desert land to be baptized by John the Baptist in the River Jordan. After his baptism, he spent 40 days in the wilderness being tempted by Satan. He was led by the Holy Spirit and protected by God's angels to overcome Satan's powers. Many thought John the Baptist was the Messiah, but John was thrown into prison and was beheaded there. Jesus went back into Galilee after his time in the wilderness to spread God's word. He needed help because he knew his time around was limited. Jesus chose his disciples for a purpose, so the good news of God's unconditional love was spread across the face of the earth and continued for centuries to follow. He selected and used regular people to carry out his plan. My name is Andrew, and Peter is my brother. We live in Laodicea and Cape Vernon, and were fishermen before Jesus called us. Originally, I followed John the Baptist as he shared news of the Messiah soon to come. I was there when John baptized Jesus. I told my brother Peter about Jesus, and Jesus came to meet us while we were fishing.
Peter and Andrew, come, follow me, I'll make you fishers of people.
Peter and Andrew followed Jesus as they walked to gather more disciples. Jesus saw James and John, also fishermen, and told them to leave everything and follow him. So they did.
James and John, leave all you have here and come follow me.
Today, as Jesus' disciples, we learn from Jesus in the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 22, verses 8 through 10. Then he said to his servants, "The wedding banquet is ready, but those I have invited do not deserve to come. So go into the street corners and invite to the banquet anyone you can find." So the servants went out into the streets and gathered all the people they could find, the bad as well as the good. And the wedding hall was filled with guests.
Hey Claire, I'm on the way to youth group at St. Andrews. Want to come?
Why would I want to go? I don't even go to church.
Well, everyone's welcome there. We do cool stuff like talk about our highs and lows, play fun games, learn about Jesus, and have great food.
Sure, I'll go. Could be fun.
Jesus continues throughout Galilee, preaching and teaching about God's love. He healed many people who were suffering with demon possession, leprosy, blindness, and crippling diseases. Jesus was compassionate towards them, and by their faith in him, he healed them. This started to make the Pharisees and teachers in the temple suspicious and angry towards Jesus. In the Gospel of Mark, chapter 12, Jesus said, "Love with all your heart, with all your understanding, and with all your strength, and to love your neighbors as yourself is more important than all sacrifices."
Jesus taught hundreds of people in crowds, and 2 times the Bible tells us how he fed crowds of many thousands with just a few fish and some bread. He simply prayed, blessed the food, and had disciples feed the people. Afterwards, there was even food left over. Jesus provided for everyone's needs. In the Bible, Jesus says in the Gospel of Mark, verse 33, "But seek first his kingdom and his righteousness, and all these things will be given to you as well."
Coach, I can't go to practice tonight because my youth group at St. Andrews is serving dinner at the Grace House, and I really want to help out. What can I do?
That's your choice, Claire, but we really need you. And if you don't come to practice tonight, you won't be able to start the game on Friday.
Claire starts to give in and then remembers what she learned about what Jesus said about priorities.
Coach, I want to go to youth group. I feel better about that choice, even though I understand that I'll have to sit on the bench for the start of the game. I'll see you at practice tomorrow night.
Jesus continued to call ordinary people and even one who had a bad reputation of sorts, Levi. Later called Matthew a tax collector for the Roman courts. Jesus walked up to Levi and told him to walk away from his tax collecting table and follow him. Jesus went with his disciples to where the tax collectors and other sinful people were eating and joined them because he loved them and cared for them just as much as he loved and cared for anyone. Jesus continued to spread God's word and spent time with all people, loving them, not judging them. Jesus' actions continued to cause suspicion and anger with the Pharisees. Matthew left the practice of tax collecting and followed Jesus. In the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 6, verses 21, Jesus said, "For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also."
Here's a $10 from Katie to the empty what you plan on doing with it.
Katie stopped to think of the new pair of ice skates she was saving for, but then remembered what Jesus said about the value of our treasures.
I'm going to put $1 in the offering for church and divide the rest between our project for the homeless and whatever's left I will use towards getting my new pair of ice skates. That will make me feel good because I didn't only think about myself.
Jesus chose 13 disciples in all: Andrew, Peter, James, John, and Matthew. Then added in no particular order Nathanael, Philip, James, the younger Jude, Thomas, Simon the Zealot, Judas, and Matthias, who replaced Judas after Judas betrayed Jesus and consequently hung himself in shame. These disciples followed Jesus for 3 years during his ministry here on earth. However, when he had needed them most, they slept or denied him and hid from those authorities looking to link him to Jesus. Jesus ended up suffering from brutal whippings, insulting words, spitting, and humiliating language. Then dying a merciless death. He rose from that cold tomb 3 days later to claim victory over death for all people. What shall we learn from Jesus' 3 years of ministry here on earth, his death and resurrection? The prophet Micah in chapter 6, verse 8 tells us, "He has shown you, O mortal, what is good, and what does the Lord require of you? to act justly and love mercy and walk humbly with your God.
Go into the world and be kind disciples.